requested, and as I've done also the preview for this week or last weekend in English language, I'm gonna do a review in English for the Bundesliga 1 and 2 as well for the weekend that is just gone by. And what are we gonna look at? We're gonna go through the games quickly, and I say that again, quickly, and I never keep my promise, but I will try, and especially as I've done the German one already, you may be a bit tired or yeah. And I've said most things already, even though it doesn't make this much of a difference to me to say it in English or in German. But I've more or less told the whole story. And I wouldn't know what to do otherwise in this one than going through the games and talk about the bets or the games themselves. But I will rather restrict to what had been deserved. Or we find something new I discover myself while I'm talking. We had this Friday night match between Hertha and Düsseldorf, and there I was explaining that I had an argument more or less about it, how the chances are for Hertha. And as I said, my old system also saw their winning chances actually a bit better, but I accepted the view from the new system that I'm also compiling the prices with. And Hertha, more or less, well, they were the better side. They were better than expected by 0.3 goals. Well, better than this silly new system expected. But it was also the way, well, their display, it looked just a bit better, although you do not record every situation, and I can't judge every single one. What I tried to do when I watch 90 minutes, which I haven't done there, would be to think about the quality of the decisions that the players make. But it's still not the only criteria you might have, because it's sometimes it's the will or the commitment, how much they run. Also, it's also a matter of will sometimes. But still, it's rather the quality of the decisions that the single players make in a given situation. And of course, that was one way of trying to judge it. Who's doing well? But it's an amazing lot what these guys are doing well and doing right over doing wrong, which is a silly term anyway, because you had to forgive them anyway, because in that speed they have to take those decisions. It's just amazing how well they do, and never getting a break from the opponent, right? So you can't think for a second. Whenever you receive a ball, you have to know already what you're gonna do with it, and where you're gonna. Or when you see that when they step over the ball and they know there's someone behind them, how did you know that? I mean, is there any any shout from the other one, or but that's just, they do it by intuition sometimes. Anyway, plenty of these things. Hertha were better and were better than expected and were more than half a goal better, so they did deserve this win. Can't argue any more about that. Freiburg Dortmund, I can, as Freiburg at the same, were as much better over expected as Hertha had been. You can only say, well, they did deserve something. I mean, as soon as you are better than expected, well, you come closer, and then you also think when watching it, because you tend to be surprised because you would say, "Oh, how well are Freiburg doing?" Because actually, you would expect Dortmund to be in the driver's seat to control the game, which they have still done. But if you see so much resistance by Freiburg, then you think, "Oh, that's a surprise." I hope for them if you weren't very neutral. Because you would tend to get that kind of justice, or you start to feel for them. You think, oh, they are doing well. Also because you're looking out for some surprises, maybe when you're fully neutral. You just watch a game of football, and you would say, oh, I rather hope for the underdog to get something from the game. I don't want these big differences to be too big. It's also in the sense of that you would like to have some excitement throughout. And if it's 0-1, 0-2, 0-3, then you just fall asleep. You say, well, I don't need to watch that anymore. And if it's 0-1, 1-1, and so on, that's what happened. And you think, oh, it's worth it. I'm going to watch it. So that's why you would hope for the outsider as well. But also because if you well, which is the more likely side to identify with? Is it the big, huge favorite, or is it the little man? You would always, right? When David fight Goliath, you would say, well, I wish David's gonna get something here. Because in some sense you are the David in all areas of life, more or less. Virtually everyone is. Just very, very small, all of us. I mean, also in comparison to how many people there are who all know and want to represent something and to be better and so on. Who's the one who's going to play for Real Madrid one day? Well, you wouldn't find him, you wouldn't meet him. Where's the Lotto millionaire? You wouldn't find him, you don't see him, you don't meet him, you don't know him. You never met one. Okay, anyway, I mean, just some reasons why you would support the underdog. By intuition, emotionally, well, it all does make sense. Freiburg did come closer, and they managed to get that equalizer very late in the game. 89th minute, it happened to Dortmund again and again. Still, they were more than 0.5 goals better, and as I argued, as much better as Hertha were, it was about the same that Dortmund were. Here you would still say, here the outsider did better, here the favorite did better than expected. So in some sense they did deserve the win, and Freiburg did deserve the draw, which is, this is how difficult it is to be objective. And it was very late in the game, so you would even start to feel a bit for Dortmund because they concede this goal again and again. Although they get lucky enough for me in midweek again in Prague when they won, and I think it was a very even game. In Leverkusen-Leipzig, I was expecting even Leipzig to be slightly better, which was not the case by stats. But everyone who saw this game and who saw the chances would say, well, you're not measuring this right. You should have 1.17 is how many goals they should have scored, or how many, which is not a possibility. You can't score 1.17 goals, but they should have scored one more at least, because for the size of the chances. But I can't do that, and I will never do that, and I won't start, because first of all I would have to see every single game, and then I would have to start to judge the sizes of the chance. To be pretty honest, I started this one day to try, and then well, you have to read the newspapers very carefully, and then try to work out where was a real chance. Or try to make up your mind when you see pictures, because you can't watch every game 90 minutes, and you have to try and count the chances or rely on newspapers that publish how many chances there were, which is a matter of how you count, right? So I didn't get very far with that, but and I have to say I did give that up, but but it was also for an amount of work, not because I considered it useless. But it's well, the return is too small. If you would say, well, I got a certain way of making money by doing this, then I would do it. But this you can hardly prove, not after 1 year or so, the time I did that. Anyway, I will always keep counting the stats I'm getting access to, which are more or less published now regularly, and not just this, they are counting carefully. So they are not just putting in any kind of rubbish, which they might do because it's not counted anyway. I mean, no one would say, when they say it's 10-6 shots, then no one would say, Schalke also, they would say, oh no, we had 11 shots. Didn't you count this one? Well, what would it be good for? If you counted 10, okay, that's fine. Okay, go ahead. Or we had 58% possession. You said 56%. No, that was 58%. This is still a matter of counting. Do you count the time? Do you count the number of passes? Or, I mean, what do you say when a side kicks the ball up forward? And you would say, well, for the time the ball is in the air, what would you say? Is it their position or the other ones? You don't know where it's going to come down. Then you have a kind of tackling. Then they both fight for the ball, and one comes out on top, or the ball goes somewhere neutral, no man's land. What would you say then? So, do you count the number of passes? There are two different methods of counting that anyway. But it's not fully objective, and it wouldn't be go into any kind of books except for my own book, which is the book I'm writing here, so to say. It's my stats book or my database. But no one can complain if something is, well, falsely counted, I mean miscounted, whatever. It makes no difference. But still, here I would say the size of the chances was a lot bigger, so it was an even game, no matter what the stats say here. Or I would even say, well, it appeared that Leipzig even were closer to winning, but thereby ignoring that sometimes in the highlights or even in the conference, you do not see what might be the times that Leverkusen came close without getting a real shooting opportunity or something like that. We did have, so the draw was a fair result anyway. I mean, this is close enough in all areas expected, and this one as well. Although here you would say, well, it appeared as if there should have been some more, or those values should be bigger, right? At least for Leipzig, the one. Bayern, Hoffenheim, okay, we did have this huge upset, this major one that all the world are waiting for, and they would all go through the results, right? When you are somewhere in Argentina or Ecuador or in Ivory Coast also, and they look at the Bundesliga results, they would go through. Okay, that's regular. Oh, what? Bayern lost, or something like that. Right? It's amazing, and so and if it happens, you still can think about it. How well did they deserve it? What went wrong for Bayern? What I consider here went wrong partly was also that they didn't get those penalties they would have deserved. I consider, right? Lewandowski once, he was pushed from behind and he was held back, both in the same situation, and everyone could see that. I mean, he just can't score, but they say no, that's not enough for a penalty. Okay, why? Why is it not enough? And what is it? What is it that is not enough? The foul that is not enough. Okay, where are the rules? Okay, show me the rules. If a foul occurs inside the area, it can be either enough for a penalty or it's not enough. Okay, where is this paragraph? Where is this rule telling me you have to be, watch out, in the area? It's something's different. What is different there? Show me. It's just the way they do decide, but it's not it's nothing written down in the rules also. You just say, no, I can't give a penalty here, although I see it's a foul, although I see he can't score, but I can't give a penalty, no. Can't do that. And they all agree. Anyway, they were clearly better. Did come close in so many situations that simply this turning into a clear win 3-1, which was closest here actually, and everyone would say, okay, Bayern, business as usual. They always do that. They score the goals when the chances are there. What did Hoffenheim try for? But as the stats are like this and the results is like that, they say, oh, with some crisis, they are not ready for the Bundesliga and Champions League. It's fine, 7-2 at Tottenham, but now in the Bundesliga, that's very different. Or something like that. They lost their concentration, focus, nothing. If the side that are doing well, better than expected, get a result, as I said already, and this is Hoffenheim, you can always find a reason for them to deserve something, because they did better than expected. Still the case. It was pretty one-sided as expected, not as one-sided as expected, and so the surprise was a little more likely. And of course, what happens here, as soon as the result is on their side, it was 1-0, then it was 1-1, then it was 2-1 again, Hoffenheim. They know, well, okay, we do not need the ball right now. I mean, we need to defend our goal, okay, but we do not need the ball so badly. Anyway, Bayern would be dominant no matter what, and they've been so from start to finish. They have been a little less dominant than expected. So that's good news for Hoffenheim. They did, in some sense, deserve something, which they got. Paderborn were no good. It was Mainz the better side, or many chances either end, but the majority went to Mainz, who deserved this win in that sense. And I wouldn't argue about this one, although Paderborn did have a penalty late on or 70-something, 78 maybe, to equalize, which they missed. But anyway, it would still have been the same small problem. They were worse. Schalke, Köln, I mean, both did a very good job, and it was a good game. And at some point, Schalke did turn their superiority, which is here, into a goal, which was pretty late in the game. And of course, you would say, well, now they're going to win the game, because first of all, it's not a lot to play. Then they are the favorite. Then they had been the better side, and not much time left. And the chances on the break they would find, because the others will open up. You can rely on that, which they did. And so it's going to be 2-0, which was on the cards. It was 2 or 3 very good chances on the break for Schalke, which they missed. Still, Köln would never give up and would try, and in some sense they did deserve it. Anyway, it's 0.55 goals, and it's more than expected. So you could easily say Schalke would have deserved a win, which I would also accept in some sense. But here I would still say the result was on Köln's side for very long, and their defensive was doing all right, because this is less than expected, and this is here in this value are already counted in the chances that occurred after the 1 goal. So if this wouldn't have been come after 70, also something, minute 76 maybe, then this would have been lower even, because Köln would have continued to play the way they did. So in that sense, I would once again say, well, Köln did come close enough. And especially after they did concede the chances on the break, which I said already, which is very normal. It always happens like that, whereby the better teams manage better to, the better they are, the better they even defend those chances on the break or stop them. But that was happening anyway. But Köln did produce their chances. And not enough with that, they had this very good chance right before the end, and which was parried by the goalkeeper Nübel, and the corner still led to a goal. I mean, I didn't want to watch it anymore, because after I saw he stopped this ball as well, because there were 2 glorious chances before as well for Köln, 2 headers which you just couldn't stop, but he, with some reflex or something like that, he stopped them. And you say, okay, he won't be beaten today. And right after the corner, out of this situation, they scored the goal. So in some sense, you can still argue in favor of Köln, and they did deserve it. I mean, it's very, very close, 0.55 goals, and better than expected. Still, a couple of points in favor of them. It's, well, of course, anything is possible, but it's a better analysis than you get anywhere. Gladbach sounds very one-sided, which it wasn't by stats. They just had 9 shots or something like that. Well, we have this written down here. I have this recorded in here. That was nine shots. No, 13 each, which is clearly less than expected, and 9 on target. I'm sorry, that was a game. I got that mixed up with. Still, this is not as much as I would have expected. So the superiority wasn't of this size, the expected size, this one. And it was clearly in favor of. But here you can always say, well, it was 2-0, 3-0 after a very short time. So the game is over as a contest. From then on, it's meaningless. I have to count it. I enter it here. I can still say, well, from then on, they are still playing football. They've done okay. But I haven't got a choice, right? I couldn't say, well, I'm going to stop recording now. I say this is a 15-minute. I multiply this with 6 maybe to get it to 90 minutes or whatever it is. It's just ridiculous. I'm going to record the stats I'm getting, and they are telling me this. And here's a pretty big mismatch to this, which has an influence on the conversion rate by Gladbach, which is also fine then, because if you get a very good result from bad stats, then the update margin for the conversion rate is maximum, right? I couldn't get any more than that, and so they will get a boost in that, which makes sense. I mean, if you score 5 goals, okay, that does have some meaning, right? And they scored some nice goals, but you can say that it was too easy or something like that. It's just the game. I mean, 2 goals are enough already in some sense, but if it's 3, but then you can say, well, there were just 2 more to come. But if it were 3-1, then you would still say very regular result, right? Nothing spectacular. 5-1 sounds spectacular. Here, Wolfsburg Union's done a very good job, and you can feel a bit sorry for them because they've done that before already, and they are new to this league, and everything is a bit new. But again, if it's bad luck, it is bad luck, so you can hardly argue. But still, if the better side were Wolfsburg by these stats, and there was a penalty taken back against Union, so to say, for Wolfsburg, which was, of course, for me a bit ridiculous to take that back because they check everything. Then they say, well, we got to make sure there was no one switching on his lighter also in the crowd, right? Oh, there was someone. No, we can't count the goal. I mean, what else would you count? I mean, you look back, you say, well, you can't do this, you can't do. Why? I mean, now you have to judge this situation. The ball got there, now he was brought down. So why are you checking what happened before? There's nothing to talk about. It's gone. But that's what they do when goals are coming, or decisions in favor of goals are coming. And they say, no, we have to make sure we don't get too many goals. Otherwise, people would start to love the game, would start to get excited about the game, and they would all, we would have all sold out all tickets. We can't do that. I don't know. I mean, it's just rubbish what they say. But anyway, you can say still the better side won. So what's wrong with it? Union did come close enough. Also late on in the game when they had some chance to equalize the very last shot or so, and just wasn't to be, and was a bit unlucky for them as they were a lot better than expected, which was also visible. I mean, I was watching this and I see, well, they are doing a good job, and you start to feel, well, they should get a point here, which they didn't have a bet on that. Okay, Frankfurt against Werder was very, very one-sided. Although you could still argue that actually Werder were not any bad. I mean, they were doing okay, but just Frankfurt were so much better. I mean, they were so good. I mean, what is it? you can have levels, right? Also, the level, even if it doesn't matter in relationship because the one is just this much better, but you could say, well, this was just Champions League level, right? The others played Bundesliga 2 level. Also, still, it's the same difference. It doesn't make no difference for this single game. But Werder played their level, I would say, and Frankfurt were just so much better. And I'm just impressed. What more can I say? I mean, I didn't expect them to give them any chance to repeat what they've done last year, as they lost all those players. And usually, you have for teams that are overperforming for a while, and they do not have this size. If it's Dortmund or Bayern, or if it's Leverkusen, or well, some of these clubs that have some bigger size already, then you would say, well, fine, they're going to stay there. But if it's a bit smaller club, they're overperforming, okay, no, they will go down again. Which is not the case here. They are playing really, really good and even better than they did last year. I mean, just excellent. In this game, it's just impressive to see them. And all those crosses, they counted like 35, 36 crosses, right? They sent in. 36. They were good. This is, I mean, if you say you exaggerate how you count those crosses, they are not gonna get you anywhere. Well, how would you score a goal? I mean, still the classical way would be get a winger down, bring a cross in, get a header to the ball. I mean, you can get through the middle, but it's more difficult than ever right now. Also for the application of rules, stopping all the attackers with these. I mean, you can tear him, you can touch him, you do this, you do this. Oh no, this is not a penalty, it's not a foul. Regular size, this impedance, what is it? Impeding. Anyway, Frankfurt. All those crosses were good. That's what I was trying to say. They were really good. I mean, the right power, the right curve, the spin. They were just good crosses, all of them. And if it's not turning into goals, and after 87 minutes, they did score the goal, which was pretty good and very well deserved. And there was some celebrations because they knew, like Schalke did, we're going to win this game from here. But then Werder just, what did they do? They didn't read the script. They just went forward, and Klaassen, and the ball was free inside the area, and he was first one to the ball. The defender, he was trying to hold back his legs, but he didn't manage, and so he fell over the legs, and there was no choice than giving a penalty. And then it was 2-2. Pretty lucky here, and pretty lucky also Köln, but also in some sense you can say, well, as soon as they were losing, they still knew what to do, right? That was as well Köln as Werder. Before the 2-1, they were still happy with the result. So go ahead, go and fire in your crosses or bring in your crosses and so on. But after the goal, we have to go forward, which they did. But still, it's just lucky. And in terms of, I have to do that a bit quicker now. We were. This is quality is bad and lost. This was Düsseldorf. They were no good. They were 0.3 goals behind, as I said already. Freiburg was good enough, and it was a winner. Leipzig was definitely good enough because they were just a bit behind, but you still saw the chances, so you say that's a good one. Anyway, result on their side was being plus 0.25. Hoffenheim definitely a good one and a winner. Paderborn no good, lost. Köln good because it's not 0.1 goal behind. They were just 0.56 goals behind, even though a bit worse than expected. Way better than market thought. And so I was very right on this one. And Werder was a bad one, but still a winner. Which happens, but I was talking about this. Hertha over was a good one. and was a winner. This under was spoiled by the last goal from Freiburg, which is a bit hard to say, because they, in some sense, did deserve this. Was a good one, was still lost. This was a good one, obviously, and was a winner, and Bayern under was also very good. So for this whole league, we have 3.5 on all those bets. You can check back on the preview that I had done that on Friday already. Here in Bundesliga 2, I'm gonna check that because here's the we got the Stuttgart Wien, which was very, very similar to very in all some senses. But Stuttgart were even more superior than expected, and clearly even more than Bayern, which is still a bit close. I mean, you could say Bayern were 1.73 goals better, and Stuttgart were 2.35, so it's still quite some difference. The game itself was very similar to that, because Wien scored the first one as Hoffenheim did. Stuttgart did equalize, after which you thought that's going to be, their moment, they're going to step up, score some more. Instead, Wien did, as Hoffenheim did. And from then on, it was pretty one-sided. 4 times they hit the woodwork and the ball wouldn't go in. Very unlucky for them. But still, you wish this sometimes to happen, right? Darmstadt were clearly superior to Karlsruhe. They didn't win this, and we didn't win the over, as you will see in a second, but it was a very good over. 2 goals very early on. Very much better Darmstadt, who couldn't turn their superiority into a win, which HSV did, and they did it in style. They were the better side. Very good game by HSV. You can't say much about Fürth. This was just Bundesliga 2 level, but they are so much better. Which I have to accept here. And if you see the ranking, they are on 1.6 now, which is, if you regularly get such efforts in, it's gonna approach the... Well, this is top level in this league anyway. It wouldn't be in Bundesliga 1, as there's still much bigger differences between the teams. They wouldn't even be as good as Dortmund in comparison to the league. But still they are getting there, maybe. Dresden, Hannover, I was supporting Hannover. Hannover were the better side. They did deserve the win. From start to finish, they were better. The goals did come late, but you weren't so much worried because they were always keeping their slight superiority. And Sandhausen, Aue was close to what I had expected. Many more chances either end, and Aue didn't play a bad game at all. It was just that Sandhausen was still better, produced more chances. Both sides were very active, so you can say, well, this 2-2 is still closest to both these values. So if you round them, it's 2-2, so that's fine. But still, as they were better than expected and more than half a goal better, you could say, well, we should have gone to Sandhausen, which wasn't the case. Very good game. This one as well was a good game to watch, and it was Nuremberg in the end still clearly better, which wasn't really the evidence when watching it. I mean, it didn't look... it looked okay what St. Pauli did all the time, but in the end, still was Nuremberg. They came too close, and still it looked a bit more even than that. Although the late stage, and then you would say, well, Nuremberg should have won it, but wasn't the case. I mean, they are all close. All I'm saying is that those stats do not tell the whole story. You can't expect that. If you watch, you may still have a different impression, and you may be right, but this is for sometimes the chances that are not turning into chances, because you see something, there may something be happening, and the last pass is not finding the man, the target, or the shot is blocked, or before he takes the shot, the goalkeeper gets the ball, so it's not counted anywhere, but it's a good chance. you have these situations, but I can't do this for every game. So I take those stats, and I'm happy that I even got them, which makes me a lot better than, well, actually anyone else. Kiel Regensburg. I mean, I was of course happy with the way that Regensburg played because it looked one-sided in the beginning. Because Kiel just it looked as if they were crushing them, right? And then they scored the goal after 50 minutes or so, and you thought, okay, this is gonna be one-sided. I got the wrong side, and still Regensburg did come back, and it appeared that they managed to equalize the game, so it was an even contest. And they scored the goal, and the 1-1 wasn't this late in the game, and after which it still looked as if Regensburg were competitive enough. But then I noticed this, and I even wrote this here somewhere during the game, right? I'm not going to show you, but I've done that during the game that I said, appears to me that Kiel are still going to win this one because they are just better. And, well, they wouldn't, yeah, which was the case here, which you see by stats. It was still Regensburg doing a good job, but Kiel were, well, in the end, yeah, it was like Nuremberg or so. You still feel for the underdog, and you say, well, they hung in, they held on to the result, they've done everything, and even if the chances were there, which was also for St. Pauli, which you do not see here in the stats. As I said, sometimes the chances don't go into the stats, but it seemed to be lurking for their chance, right? And what's the case for Regensburg as well, and they did score the goal, right? This was really a bad error this time because goalkeeper and defender from Kiel are going to the long ball, which is not even a pass or something like that. And then they both let it go, right? Either one thinks the other one takes it. Also, it was just a bad mistake. But anyway, it happens, and they were still trying, and they were going forward whenever chance was there. Still, it was one-sided in favor of Kiel, who should have won the game, and this late winner for Regensburg was, yeah, they didn't deserve it, which you can always argue about. You know, I mean, they tried their best, always tried. This was a bit over-optimistic, as I explained already, maybe, that it appears to be, well, too clearly in favor of Regensburg, because the market was very proud of Kiel and very certain they are going to win. And so I would say, well, if there would be half a goal between them here, it's still good enough for a bet, and it would then it wouldn't be this much better that Kiel had been than expected. But I'm not taking any manual influence on those figures. They are developing. I take them as they come, and I look at them, and then still am able to think about it. But this was a bit over-optimistic, although it turned out to be very right because my side won. But of course, this tells a different story, that rather market was right. Although you could say result was on Regensburg's side almost all of the time. Heidenheim, Bochum would also, the stats would tell a different story than the pictures would, because Bochum were 2 goals up very early on, after which maybe they were relaxed a bit, or they don't relax because they never won a game so far, but they are just going to defensive mode, and this is what they did, and all the stats went to Heidenheim even more than expected. 2 goals are fine for them if they score them, but the 3 conceded, as I said, too early on, they are just forgotten already then. I mean, what about those stats? 0.7, they should have scored. After they have 2, I mean, it's they don't care about this figure to rise. But they even scored a third after the 1-2. Anyway, it didn't feel such a good one in favor of Heidenheim, but the stats tell a different story, so I'm going to take that. Bielefeld with a much better side, who just proved they are very, very good. They are one of the top sides. Not as good as Stuttgart and Hamburg, but the third force here. And they've underlined that in a very good game. They played, and although Osnabrück haven't done much wrong, they also looked just good. I mean, this is Bundesliga 2. I mean, you can't say everyone's good. This is the level of the league. But they haven't done much wrong. It was just Bielefeld was so much better. So we look at this as well. And here we have Wien with a bad quality, still a winner. This was a red card as well after 60 something. So the last 25 minutes was, I mean, one-sided 4 times. But I can't count it as a good one. It's a winner, and we all know sometimes, well, the result is on their side. They fight for their lives. They hold on. You still take, okay, somehow you deserved it. It wasn't the case like that, but I was still 2 goals away from losing. I mean, 2 goals away and still winning, 3 goals away from losing. So this is massive, but still it's a bad one. Clearly too much. This was a bad one. It was a loser. Fürth. It was not for the sake of Fürth or something like that. It was just that Hamburg was so much better. Hannover was a good one and was a winner. St. Pauli was a bad one, but a winner. And here, as I said, you can always argue for your side, which people would do who formerly would have done that. I mean, they would have, okay, this was a winner. I'm not going to talk about it. If you ask them, they would say, well, it was a winner because I won it, because they were good. This was my pick, was my side. If you would still argue, they would say, didn't you see that? How well, they had another chance there. Also, which is not really objective, but still I could do the same, which I'm not going to do. I take the stats and I say, okay, that was lucky one. Here as well, I can't argue much, although I saw, well, all I could see or all I need to see, that's the way things go. I mean, they are doing a good job. The other ones are better. They deserve the goals. It didn't come. I'm still happy because I say, okay, my side were trying until the end. Result was on their side. I'm happy, but I'm not going to count it as a good one. I'm not going to send back the money or something like that. This was a good one, so to say, to the stats here. I would say, well, if it was counted a bad one, I wouldn't mind. But if the stats tell me it's a good one, I'm still happy. I mean, I know that all those goals that are coming are also coming by coincidence. So you can't say this was for certain that goal was going to come, these 2 early goals. Bad one, lost one. I was arguing about this one before and I said, well, actually you can't do that. But I was trusting my figures in some sense, and it just, I was saying, well, rather forget about it. It's here. I'm counting it. It's bad one and a lost one. Darmstadt over was a very good one, and even better, just the 3rd goal wouldn't come. It was a lost one, but it was a very good one. 2 goals after 9 minutes. This under was bad because there was just too many chances there. If I remember correctly, I'm not even sure now, but I'm not going to reconsider if I entered this. This was a bad one, but a winner. It was just 2 goals for Hannover late on, so you can always argue as well, but the chances were there. Kiel Regensburg under, this was under 3.5, so it was still a winner, and it was a good one. And Heidenheim under was a loser, but still a good one. That's what the stats tell me. So in the end, we got still a decent quality with 13 good ones, 10 bad ones, and also some winnings here, plus 3.5 here, and plus 1.302 here. That makes a total of plus 4.802, which leads to a total winnings of 12.203 units, which is in percent something like, if you have 136 bets and 12 units winning, that's like 8 or over 8.5%, I would say. So that's very decent, but I'm not, carry it forward to the future. Just, well, I can't do other than counting it, but I'm not celebrating myself, whatever happens next time. So see you again then week to come, because there's internationals next weekend, but in like 10 days I'll be back. Okay, see you then. Thanks a lot. Leave your likes, shares, comments, subscriptions. Thank you.